This is not clickbait. You have read the title correctly. Sneasler has just been quick banned from the Gen 9 overuse tier. Maybe this is a little out of nowhere. To be fair, Sneasler has been controversial for some time, especially at the start when it released, but the hype kind of died down and it started to go back up, and now it's actually been quick banned. We're gonna go over why it has been quick banned. There's a whole post right here. Kind of surprising, to be honest, that they just quick banned it. But we're gonna go over this. So they did a survey test. The Smogon OU cast did a survey for Gen 9 OU, the current state. You could vote on how you think about the metagame, etc. And a certain Pokemon, like controversial Pokemon like in Gambit, Golden Go, Sneasler, one of these. And as it says right here, Sneasler had a qualified response average of 4.5 out of 5. So you could vote from 1 to 5, with 5 being, this should be banned, and 1 being, this is not even a problem at all. So yeah, the average was 4.5. People thought it was a very problematic Pokemon. And to put into context, Finchinator put here, Espatra had 4.25 out of 5, Shattail 4.3, Chinpao 4.63, Zamazenta Crown 4.4, Baxcalibur 4.64, and Oakmon Heartland 4.1 out of 5. So this is a very high number. Pretty much means that the majority of the qualified people actually wanted this banned. So yeah, it says right here, all of these responses reflect substantial support to act on a Pokemon, which oftentimes is the result of a release bringing upon Pokemon that do not belong in the tier, or a new strategy gaining usage and effectiveness while the metagame fails to sufficiently respond to it. In cases like Baxcalibur and Oakmon Heartland, we had bans soon after the release of the DLC, as the former gained skill shot and premium support while the latter was first released with the DLC, only for us to see the metagame lacked much counterplay. However, in cases like Espatra and Shattail, they were long-standing practices in the metagame that gained traction over time until they snowballed into being truly unreasonable. Espatra was great from the jump, but it began using more varied terror types to handpick. Counterplay was Shattail was always problematic on Cyclozar, which got banned, but eventually was extended to Earthworm, leading us to shift the ban as it transpired and gained support. So yeah, if you may remember, Espatra had a pretty interesting history at the start of the generation. People knew it was good, but kind of overlooked it. It went to UU, got banned from UU. It went to OU and got banned from OU as well. And Shattail was pretty much the same thing. It was a very problematic. Cyclozar got banned because people thought Regenerator plus the speed Cyclozar had made it too good with Shattail. But no, Earthworm showed also that it doesn't matter if you have Regenerator speed. It's still a broken move. In the case of Sneasler, it was always a strong Pokemon since its mid-generation release, but only recently found itself a vocal point in tier circles as people began using it in a fashion that was most conducive towards its effectiveness, while the metagame failed to sufficiently react over some time. Suddenly, teams of Drillboom, which had grassy terrain, enabled Unburden plus Sword Stance Sneasler to be unreasonable due to the combination of strength and its speed it provided. That's a good point actually. Before the DLC, actually activating Unburden could be somewhat tricky. Most commonly you would see Air Balloon, because it obviously gave it that ground immunity, and the only thing you had to do was get hit to activate it. However, you could take advantage of that by, for example, switching to a faster threat while Sneasler has up a Sword Stance and threaten it with a 1-hit KO. So now Sneasler is forced out as the burden is not activated yet. However, with Rillaboom gaining Grassy Glide back, it became one of a top tier Pokemon, and as a result, Grassy Seed was a very good option on Sneasler to instantly activate that Unburden. So yeah, the doubling of its speed coupled with the enhanced bulk from Grassy Terrain, they mean, of course, you get that plus 6% to your health back every turn, and also the damage from Earthquake is reduced on the Grassy Terrain. So yeah, and the plus 1 defense eliminated virtually all offensive counterplay to Sneasler outside of specific combination of priority or sporadically seen options like Barraskewda on the Rain, which is not close enough. Now Barraskewda is trash, so Barraskewda is very, very bad. Defensive counterplay did exist at least, but it was few and far between, frequently depending upon Sneasler being a specific variant or not being able to exhaust its Terra in a timely fashion. So of course you have hard, I would say hard count, but hard checks or great checks like Dragapult and Golden Go, especially Golden Go, immune to both Close Combat and Dire Claw, but Sneasler does have X to Night Slash. But even then, Acrobatics plus Terra Flying is also a very common set. With Terra Flying, you easily survive a hit from Golden Go, and you can 2-hit KO it with Acrobatics. Obviously, you can 1-hit KO Dragapult with Acrobatics and Night Slash respectively. This is of course if you have that +2 boost from Sword Stance, but that's not difficult to set up. So yeah, options like Dondozo, Iron Defense plus Brave with Corvic Knight and Terror Ghost, Iron Defense, Garganacl have popped off recently to handle Sneasler, and while a few others can potentially fit the bill as well, it is ultimately a Pokemon you have to go well out of your way to assure coverage of, which does not cater to a healthy or very team building picture for a metagame. Of course, Dire Claw can also easily shut down some checks as well by just sleeping them. I mean, technically, you could probably cheese to Dondozo, maybe, I don't know. So yeah, that's why Iron Defense, Corvic Knight obviously immune to Dire Claw, and Terror Ghost, Iron Defense, Garganacl obviously cannot be statused. So yeah, while Dire Claw is already arguably uncompetitive and worthy of greater discussion on Sneasler, this aspect of it was almost swept under the rug as people focused on how it could function as a sweeper, cleaning games out with ease as it swept many Pokemon within the tier under the rug itself. Sword Stance and Fighting Step like Close Combat were locks on the set. From here, Terra Flying and Acrobatics or Terror Ghost and Shadow Claw were both frequent. Sometimes we saw Terra Flying up to run both, so Shadow Claw could still nab Golden Go too, but other times either variant could opt to run Poison Step like Gong Shot last, which provided premium damage output as it often 1-hit killed Calm Zapdos variants at +2, while covering Tornadus, Darien, Clefable and Moltres in certain cases. Ultimately, Sneasler was largely able to dictate its own counterplay and found very convenient metagame conditions, allowing for it to set up as much of an entry barrier as you would anticipate for something as fragile as Sneasler typically is. Dire Claw still saw some usage on these sets and provided a lane to force status on would-be checks or counters too. I just mentioned that as well. This NM was arguably not amplified to the full extent on Sword Stance set and instead focused more with the pivot variants, which are far less problematic and not necessarily why we deem Sneasler broken. With this in mind, Dire Claw is still a move that had potentially dire ramifications I'm kidding, on the OU metagame, stealing games from prepared players or opponents who seem to have winning positions going into Sneasler interactions. Yep, I have experienced that on, being the one that was prepared. The primary reason for the ban is the Sword Stance plus Unburden sets, which were always good with Air Balloon and now stole the show on grassy terrain teams, but getting the Dire Claw out of the tier is not a downside by any stretch of the imagination either. With all of these conditions and abundance of community support from the aforementioned tiering survey kept in mind, the SVOU Council elected to vote on Sneasler, with 3 options being a quick ban, suspect, or not acting. And you can see the results right here. Everyone voted ban. Mind Gaming, I suppose, didn't do anything. And NGNP is the only one that voted for a suspect. So yeah, with 8 votes in favor of a quick ban, 1 vote in favor of a suspect, and 0 votes in favor of no action, Sneasler has been quick banned from SVOU with a 88.9 or 88.89 super % majority from the thing. Whatever, the number is too much. So yeah, that is the whole post. Let me know your thoughts about this Sneasler ban. Did you expect this to be quick banned or at least a suspect? I actually expected, if we're gonna quick ban something, expect Golden Go to go. My personal opinion. I also am expecting a Golden Go suspect test in the future. Maybe with the release of DLC 2, maybe before. We're gonna have to wait. I think it's gonna be before that though. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.